Right, if you're starting out on your property search and you've been looking into mortgages, you've probably heard about the agreement in principle. Most lenders, when you go on their websites, you can fill out a form which says how much you earn, how much debt you've got, how much you pay for this and that every month, and they will come back with a figure that says, based on what you've told us, we're going to lend you that amount of money. And that's what's known as an agreement in principle. Uh, in principle, if what you tell us is true, we've got an agreement. But there's a step further that a lot of smart buyers use called the pre-arranged mortgage or the PAM. And I'll explain that in this video after this short intro. I'm Tim Hill, internet entrepreneur, property investor, and author of How to Really Buy a Property. No, it's not one of those books that goes on and on about how you can make millions investing in property, and all you have to do is go on my course to learn the secrets, and then you go on my course and you find out that you have to go on my master course to learn the real secrets. None of that. If you have decided to buy a property, no matter what your motivation, then How to Really Buy a Property is the smart way to do it, and it will save you time, money, and stress. Okay, the PAM, the pre-arranged mortgage. So the first thing you do is you're either going to a mortgage broker to ask them to look around for you for some good mortgage deals, or you go to some banks or some lenders, mortgage providers, and you fill out their forms online and they come back and tell you how much they're prepared to lend to you. These are always known as the agreement in principle. And it's just in principle because there's two things they want to check out. The first is what you've told them true, like how much you earn, how much debt you've got, and are you a good debtor? So they'll be going to a credit agency and saying, this person over there, they want to borrow quite a lot of money. Have they ever been in debt in the past, and how have they handled it? And the credit agency will look around and say, oh, yeah, they've had a credit card, but they always pay their credit card bill every month, or they always pay it off every month. They're very reliable people when they're in debt. So the bank's doing the two things, checking out you out like behind your back, and also wants to check out and for you to prove the things you've said are true. So you're going to need, provide them with credit card statements if you've got borrowings on a credit card, and pay slips if you're in a job, or perhaps your accounts if you're self-employed. All these sort of things, the official documents for the bank to get proof of what you like, and at the same time that credit check to check that you've been a good person in the past. Now that's fine, but it all takes time. Now, if you've got a sale agreed, you want to buy a property, this is just another collection of paperwork which can add delay, can slow things down. So what if, even before you bought the property, even before you offered on the property, you got a cast iron deal from the bank that was only subject to them checking out the property to make sure they thought the property was a good idea. Okay? And that's what a pre-arranged mortgage is. It's where you've looked at all the offers from the banks and you said, okay, I'm going to go with these guys over here. And you said to these guys, I want a pre-arranged mortgage, a PAM. Now, very often, and this is why it's a good idea to use a mortgage broker, banks don't shout about their PAM offer. Maybe they don't think they're very popular. I think they're an incredibly good idea. But not all banks are going to offer it. So sometimes through a mortgage broker, they'll be able to whittle down which ones could offer it to you. And you can see if it's a good deal and they offer a PAM, it's a good idea to go for the PAM. So what are you doing with the PAM? You're saying to them, check me out now. Okay, I haven't even found a property yet, but check me out now. You go to that credit agency and check out I've been good. And here's my pay slips, or here's my accounts, and here's my credit card statements, and or my loan statements to show that it's true what I said about the debts I had and about what I earned. And then the bank goes and does all those checks, and it'll come back and say to you, okay, definitely. We just need to check the property. So as soon as you made an offer on a property, we'll send a third party called a surveyor round to look at the property and check that we think it's worth what you've offered for it. And that's the only check we need to make. as far as we're concerned, you are a good person to be lending to. So after you've made an offer on a property, there's a lot of paperwork to check out. The bank's not only going to want to check the value of the property, they're going to want to check the legalities of the property too. So if it's a flat, they're going to want to check, what's the situation in terms of service charge payments every year for a leasehold flat. Lots and lots of little bits that the bank will need to collect together. But the one thing they won't need to do is be running around checking you out or waiting for the credit agency to come back with their report on you. That's all been done and it's out the way. So I always bang on about this time cost deals. The longer it takes between you having the offer agreed on the property and that agreement becoming legally binding, known as exchange of contracts, that can't happen until all the paperwork is gathered together. The longer that takes, the more likely it is that you're going to lose the property. It's just one of those things. Events happen, life happens, people change their minds. So the longer things drag on, the more likely you're going to lose what you're trying to buy. So if you've got a PAM, no red faces when the bank suddenly comes back and goes, "Oh, we thought you were a bit more like this, but you're not." And so that money is definitely yours, just subject to the other paperwork being gathered together. Now, I've made another episode about this whole credit agency thing, because I would say you can go to credit agencies like Experian and you can check your current credit rating. And that's something I would certainly do straight away when you're starting your house search, because credit agencies don't always have a complete record of things, or they may have a half record of things that you need to put right by giving them evidence. And that just stops strange things happening, where the bank then goes away to arrange your pre-arranged mortgage, comes back and goes, "Oh, we don't really want to rent to you because the credit agency said you're a bit naff." And then you go to the credit agency and you find out that there's mistakes on your record. You forward the documents to the credit agency. They say, "Okay, right, we've corrected your record and we've improved your credit score." And then you have to go back to the bank and go, "Look, it was all a mistake." Go and ask the credit agency again. And you're having to pay all the time for these extra checks. So it's a good idea. First step, check your credit score with a credit agency like Experian. Second step, choose your agreements in principle. And third step, if you can, move one of those agreement principles to pre-arranged mortgage to a PAM, even if you haven't found the property you're ready to buy yet. The one thing I will just point out at the end here, when I keep saying choose one, if you try and move, like, say, 5 agreements in principles to pre-arranged mortgages, that's a bad idea. That's 5 people all going to a credit agency and saying this person wants to borrow a lot of money. Now, that kind of just bangs on your credit score, because they see it as 5 different attempts to borrow a large amount of money. And the computers up there, they just go, "Oh, this guy must be in really big financial trouble." So your credit score starts to drop quite rapidly. Check on your credit score affects your credit score. The first time it does, it's a little check. Second time, it's a bigger hit. And you go 5 or 6 times and you start to get big hits in your credit score. And you find the last bank actually starts to say, "No, your credit score is awful." So treat PAMS with care. Best done, I think, through a mortgage broker. But they're a great way to just get you one step ahead of the game. They make you look like a better buyer, and that's really good when you're in a competitive situation with a vendor where there are other buyers around, other buyers who have got agreements in principle, and you can say, "Hey, but I've got a PAM. I'm a much more solid buyer." It can be the difference between getting the property or not. And that's it. That's all for this short video. There's much more information in the book, How to Really Buy a Property. As always, if you found this information useful, please remember to subscribe, to share, to like, to do all those social media things. It all helps other people who need this information find it more easily. If you've got some specific questions which you'd like me to have a go at answering, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get to them. And in the meantime, good luck with your property purchase.